Hello, my friends, it's Itheria, and today I'm going to read for you a short story that I wrote that is based on a dream that I had. Those of you subscribed will know that this channel does not get regular updates. In fact, I hardly ever post ASMR at all. It's kind of a surprise when I do. And I think that's because I just haven't found my own personal niche for ASMR. The videos that are widely popular are usually things like role plays, and it's just not my cup of tea, at least creation-wise. I do enjoy watching them, but when it comes to creating ASMR, I just haven't found something that I like, that I feel motivated enough to keep creating. And I was recently inspired by my dream to write a short story, and I was thinking that maybe ASMR reading could be something that I would do. Of course, when it comes to reading books, it's actually illegal to read many of them in this format because you would essentially be creating a free audiobook. So since you don't have the rights to that, you can't do it. There are a number of public domain books available, and I am considering possibly reading some of them. Maybe we'll read Jane Austen or Nathaniel Hawthorne, Edgar Allan Poe, which I actually have read a little bit of Poe on here before, but maybe we will read some of their works. No promises, but I find modern English to be a breath of fresh air because I actually delved into a few of those older stories, seeing if that is something I might want to do for this channel, and I'm still thinking about it. But after reading even Jane Austen, whose English is definitely dated but is more accessible than like a Shakespeare, John Milton, Herman Melville type character, even those, it's kind of crazy. The grammar that she uses is so different, and the word choice and everything is still so different that I have to kind of read it a couple of times before I can read it in a smooth cadence. Unlike anything that's modern, if you hand me a modern story, I'm actually a very good reader, and I can just read and get it down pretty good the first try, so I don't tend to stumble too much. So it's just so much easier to read modern English. So that's kind of why I was like, you know what? I wrote this short story and I'm going to read it for ASMR. And I have some other short stories that I have written in the past that I'll probably pull out, dust off, edit up a bit, and maybe share them here as well. But eventually I'm going to run out, so I can't make any promises as to like where this is going to go in the future. Another thing I want to say before I get started is please go easy on me. I haven't written a short story, like a fictional story, in a very, very long time. And writing fiction is so incredibly different from writing nonfiction and the type of writing that I do for work, which is articles and like web content. Like writing a piece of fiction is an entirely different beast from writing an essay. So, like I said, go easy on me. Plus, I always feel kind of shy and like embarrassed, I guess, to share this kind of work, especially romance stories, even though I read some of the like trashiest, worst written romance stories ever, and I like love them. Like I just enjoy it so much. It's like a guilty pleasure, although I do read actually like really, really good romance stories too, where the writing is like top tier. It has a lot of emotional depth. The relationship is actually healthy. Things that are happening are realistic. People actually communicate. Like I do read good romance, but I also read absolute trash romance that's full of cliches, that has so many issues because the two characters just don't talk. They just don't communicate, and all they have to do is just sit down for 10 minutes to just iron things out. It's so silly, but it's fun, right? It's fun. So even though like I'm not embarrassed to like read that sort of thing and I like eat it up, For me, like, I don't know why, but I do find writing romance stories a little bit embarrassing, even though, like, because I love reading romance so much, of course, writing it is, like, also something that I gravitate towards. I think the two genres that I gravitate toward the most are romance and fantasy when it comes to what I like to write and what I like to read and watch. So that's just kind of like a little disclaimer, like the story's not going to be like perfect, it's not going to be like the best thing ever, but I hope that it's enjoyable at least and that it's nice for you to fall asleep to for ASMR. So that was a super long-winded intro. And now I'm just going to get into the story. Wow, I would love some healing right now. I'm gonna die. No. I squealed into my mic as my HP dropped lower and lower. F5, please. Oh my god. That was close. My shield came back up just in time. We might have to pull less. That healer does not know what they're doing. This is why I always bring HP pots, Eric replied. It was just an average evening of playing my favorite MMO with my coworker turned close friend, Eric. He was a teacher at the high school I recently started working at as a secretary. We first met in the teacher's lounge during lunch and learned that we both enjoyed gaming in our free time after work. We even happened to play some of the same games already. Yeah, I probably should do that. I guess I'm too trusting. Eric, can't you be my pocket healer? I thought you were supposed to be my pocket healer, though, he replied. I only pocket heal for tanks. Play a tank and I'll do anything for you, I said. Anything? He asked. Anything, I confirmed. Would you gather all the rare materials I need for crafting? Anything but that. Damn, what a liar. You're not a real tank simp, he scoffed. And you're not even a tank, I shot back. Maybe if you play one, I'll change my mind. I'll think about it. Hey, by the way, did you see that video one of our guildmates posted earlier? I think you'll like it, Eric said. No, I don't think so. What's it about? I replied. People rescuing dogs. Is it going to make me cry? I asked. Maybe. Probably, Eric said. I'll watch it later then. I don't want you to hear me cry, I laughed. Why not? I don't mind, Eric replied. I do, I said. I want to hear you cry, though. Wait, that sounded wrong. I don't want you to be sad, and I don't want you to cry, but I want you to be comfortable enough to cry in front of me. I want to be there for you, Eric explained. You had me in the first half, but that was actually really sweet, I said. I feel the same way. You can cry in front of me, too. Should we watch it together and cry together? Sure, but this one isn't enough to make me cry. Aw, that's not fair. Eric and I had a lot of fun playing games over Discord after work, but I couldn't help but wish for more. I had asked him more than once if he wanted to spend time together in person, whether that be playing games, going out, having dinner, or, well, anything, but he always came up with an excuse, saying he was too tired or still had papers to grade later. It was strange to me, the way he deflected. Some nights, we stayed up way too late because we just couldn't stop talking to one another. We had even fallen asleep chatting in Discord calls. I had never felt so close to someone, but so far at the same time. We ate lunch together often in the teacher's lounge. Eric was incredibly handsome, to the point of feeling unapproachable. I'm not exaggerating when I say that he was perhaps one of the most handsome men I had ever seen, and so he was quite popular amongst the female students and staff. He was tall with an athletic build, his arms were muscular, and he looked quite fit overall. He had also been blessed with incredible bone structure. His jaw was defined without the help of a beard, though stubble looked great on him as well, and he had the most lovely blue-green eyes that were set off by dark, wavy locks of brown hair. His hair was longer than the average man's, though not long in general, and had a tousled look. I would not have been surprised if he had spent time acting or modeling. I didn't think of myself as ugly. In fact, I was certainly pretty in my own way, but not enough so to have the confidence to approach a man like him were we to be in a public place rather than a work setting. As charming as his looks were, in the beginning, I had only a ghost of a thought about anything more than a working relationship between us. Men like that were always taken, and if they weren't, they were usually douchebags. Not only that, but I hadn't exactly had a great history with romance. However, through our time playing games together, I soon found out that Eric was single, and he didn't have any children either, which was kind of surprising given that he was in his late 30s. It was nearly impossible not to fall for him, and not just because he was handsome. We had so much in common. He was fun to be with, and worst of all, he was very charismatic. One day, we were in the teacher's lounge for lunch. There were usually a few teachers chatting while having lunch, but it was a rare occasion where we were the only two in the room. I was watching shorts on my phone when he came in. He sat down in the chair next to mine, and then grabbed my chair and pulled it closer to him. My heart nearly leapt out of my chest, and I was left speechless. I have no idea what sort of stupid look I must have had on my face, but he simply took my phone out of my hand and propped it up on the table against a napkin holder so we could both see it, and said, "What you watchin'?" As if he hadn't just pulled a move straight out of a K-drama. I tried to play it cool. "Excuse you, you could have asked me to scooch over. You didn't need to manhandle me and steal my phone." "I could have done that, but then I would have missed that look on your face," he replied. "What look?" "Secret," he said with a smile as he crunched on an apple and swiped through the shorts on my phone. "You're annoying," I said, playfully shoving him as if to push his chair back away. He flashed a mischievous grin. His smile was infectious, and I found myself grinning back at him. He was so handsome and funny. I knew I should look away, but I was locked in his gaze, locked in his smile, and perhaps he was locked in mine because he didn't look away either. It's strange to think you can feel so happy just by looking at someone, but that was how I felt. Giddy, warm, excited, captivated. We stayed in that moment for what simultaneously felt like an eternity and the blink of an eye. The door opened and our eyes snapped away from one another toward the source of the sound, a staff member who came in for a cup of coffee. Part of me was disappointed that we were no longer all alone together. The other told me I needed a good dose of reality, and the reality of things was confusing. The way we talked, the way we got along, and moments like him pulling my chair closer, those things would lead anyone to believe that the two of us had something between us, wouldn't they? Yet, at the same time, he kept a distance. Why did he never ask me over? I tried asking him to my place, and he would turn me down. Was I being played? That also felt hard to believe. I felt like I knew him so well. Our conversations while gaming occasionally got deep as we told each other about some of our personal struggles. He knew that I didn't have any family I could rely on, how I had been unable to go to college, how I struggled with a traditional career when what I truly desired was to be an author. And I knew about him. I knew about how he had been left at the altar by the woman he had thought was the love of his life. I knew about his struggles with depression, how his family tried but couldn't understand, how exhausting it could be, at times, to act like he was okay in front of his coworkers and students when he wasn't. How he felt that way despite how much he loved teaching. How he felt guilty for experiencing depression when, at least objectively, he was living a blessed life. Maybe I wasn't being played. Maybe he just wanted a friend and I read into things far too much. On a Friday night near the end of the semester, a staff party was held in the cafeteria. It was sort of a staff appreciation / Christmas party. There would be dinner and dessert, of course, and white elephant gifts. It was a nice opportunity for school staff to hang out and chat outside of work hours. I was actually looking forward to it, not only because Eric would be there, but because there were some other teachers who I had gotten to know relatively well and enjoyed spending time with. The party was held about an hour after school activities had ended, allowing staff to return home and freshen up. We agreed upon a formal dress code, as many of the ladies on staff were itching for the chance to wear their nice dresses. I think seeing students dress up for the many dances throughout the year often made the teachers wish they had their own opportunities to do so. I have to admit, I was excited about the formal dress code as well. Day to day, I always dressed presentable in blouses and trousers or pencil skirts, but that was work presentable. I had to set a good example for the students. Now, I had the opportunity to show off a little. My expectations were low, but perhaps the right dress would change someone's mind about spending time together in person. The dress I wore had a corset bodice with loosely draped ruching over the bust. The corset stopped at the smallest part of the waist in a straight line, giving way to a skirt that felt very Grecian. The skirt fell to the floor, but left open a slit for the leg, and just above that slit was a bit of gathered material that gave the rest of the skirt a draped effect. The dress was light blue and the top layer of fabric was mesh. Since this was still a school event, the meshy fabric was lined underneath by a matching opaque fabric. Either way, it was a gorgeous dress that accentuated my small waist and helped me achieve an hourglass figure. Perhaps it was a little excessive for a staff Christmas party, even with a formal attire theme, but what other chances would I really have to dress this way in front of Eric? When I arrived, perhaps only half of the staff were there, and it seemed Eric hadn't made it quite yet. I sat down at an empty table across from my coworker, Amy, who also worked as a secretary for the school. Amy was in her mid-40s, and I enjoyed working in the office with her because, despite being my senior in both work and age, she was not overbearing and never tried to micromanage me, but was of great help back when I was still in training. As I sat down, she complimented my dress. We talked for perhaps 10 minutes as more staff were arriving when he finally came. Eric showed up looking completely stunning in a dark teal-green suit with a black button up underneath. He wore no tie because he didn't need one. The jacket was matte rather than shiny, and he appeared sleek and fashionable. Describing the suit, it almost sounds tacky, but it genuinely looked amazing on him. So amazing that even Amy commented on it. "I'll never understand how that man isn't married," Amy said. "Me neither." I trailed off. Eric noticed me and flashed a big grin, and butterflies danced within my stomach. He walked over and plopped down in the seat right next to me. "You don't mind if I sit here?" His words in this instance had a double meaning. To Amy, it sounded like he was politely asking if it was okay for him to join us. To me, he was playfully stating that he knew I wanted his company. Though Eric was indeed the most handsome and most popular of the male teachers at the school, he was by no means the youngest. In fact, he was 9 years older than me. However, he had a sort of ageless maturity about him that made it hard to tell his exact age just by looking. Most people would probably guess that he was in his 30s, which was true, if only for one more year. The school had recently hired a couple college graduates. One of them was named Noah, and he had quite a playful personality. He sat down next to Amy. "Wow, Amy, look at you. Gorgeous. And Lila, I might ask to take one of you home tonight." "You're going to get fired talking like that," I laughed. "Only if you report me." "Oh my God, Noah," I said, laughing even more. "No, but for real, you guys look really nice in your dresses today. Eric is looking rather dashing as well." The dinner was good, and it ended without much of interest happening. As dinner was winding down, music started. "I didn't know there was going to be a DJ," I said. "Me neither," Eric replied. I looked up at his stupidly handsome face, wondering if he would ask me to dance or if I should ask him. It seemed like he was about to open his mouth when someone else spoke up. "How about a dance, Lila?" Noah asked. Oh, I should probably let my food digest a little longer, shouldn't I said. I liked Noah, but I didn't want a certain someone getting the wrong idea. Oh, go with him, Lila, Amy said. You didn't get all dressed up like that not to dance. Amy, why? I thought. If you're going to ship me with someone, why are you shipping me with this young kid instead of the man you can't believe still isn't married? And so I agreed to dance with Noah, because it would have been awkward not to. I looked back at Eric, and he seemed unfazed. I guess I really was just reading into things, I thought with a pang in my chest. You all right there, Lila? Noah asked. You're going to get wrinkles if you frown too much. Was I that obvious? Wrinkles? It's too late for that. They're already creeping up on me. Where? Noah scoffed. You almost look younger than me. That's sweet of you to say. I guess it's time to find out if I have as much endurance as a 20-year-old then. Ahem, I'm 23. By the way, can you even dance in that dress? Of course I can, I said, sticking my leg out of the slit. This provides quite a lot of mobility. And quite a lot of eye candy. Noah, I exclaimed as he laughed, pulling me onto the dance floor. Noah kept me for more than one song, and I saw a few of the female teachers with Eric on the dance floor. You're making that face again, Lila. What face? I said with a smile. The one that's going to give you wrinkles? Could it be that you're jealous? Am I keeping you from dancing with your soulmate? He teased. Wow, way to call me out, Noah. But I'll be honest, I was hoping he was going to ask me to dance. But I don't really think he's interested in me, I sighed. I'm sure Eric has broken a lot of hearts. Look at the guy. I wouldn't break your heart though, Lila. Oh, shut up, Noah. You're too young for me. If I'm too young for you, then you're too young for him, he said. That's different. You're still so fresh. You're like a kid to me. Ouch, Noah replied. Oh, but maybe you shouldn't look so down. Look who's coming. Sure enough, Eric was making his way toward us. I looked back at Noah and nearly squealed. I quite literally did a little dance, as I was on the dance floor after all. He chuckled at my little outburst. And I'm the kid. Shut up. By that point, Eric had made it to us. I have just endured several awkward and uncomfortable dances with many of the staff members. They should not have served alcohol at this event. Lila, please save me. Sounds like you're in a real predicament. What will you give me if I do? You little shit, he laughed. I'll buy you something from the cash shop. Really? Bye, Noah, I said, and Eric led me to an empty space on the dance floor. I think he has a crush on you, Eric said. Who, Noah? Eric nodded. Nah, he's always flirtatious like that. If he didn't have a crush before, he probably will after tonight, especially after you flashed him your leg like that. You saw that? I did. You looked like you were having a lot of fun. Must be nice to be so young, he joked. I want to tell you that you're still young too, but you're practically on death's door, I teased. Gosh, well, it's a good thing you're having this dance with me now then. It could very well be my last. In fact, my legs are about to give out. As he said it, he dumped some of his weight against me. Stop it, you're going to crush me, I giggled. I find it hard to believe that your gym rat legs are tired from dancing. You should become a gym teacher instead. Then you could spend all day lifting and call it teaching. Gym rat? Since I met you, I've been sitting on my ass all night playing games. It's no wonder my legs are about to give out. Say, how did little Miss Sedentary even keep up with young Noah over there? Hey, I run sometimes. And I walk my dog every day. Well then, I guess I better thank your dog for exercising you because you might not have had the stamina to come and dance with me otherwise. Oh please, I laughed. The music slowed and Eric pulled me closer. I wrapped my arms around his neck, feeling blissful. My confusion about how he felt about me could wait until later. Even though we were surrounded by the rest of the school staff, it felt like we were the only two people in the room. I'd never gotten to be so close to him before. His arms were wrapped around my waist, and our faces were just inches apart as we swayed slowly to the music. "You look breathtaking tonight," he whispered. A smile spread across my face. Our eyes locked, and for a moment, it seemed like he would kiss me. Abruptly, he pushed me away and practically dashed off the dance floor and out of the cafeteria doors into a different part of the school. For a moment, I stood there dumbfounded, wondering what had just happened. It felt like I had been violently shaken awake from a beautiful dream. I didn't know what was wrong or why he had rushed off, so I chased after him. There was a stairwell just out of the cafeteria doors to the right. I don't know why, but I had a feeling he had gone that way. I hesitantly called out his name as I carefully climbed the steps in my heels. "Eric?" No response. Maybe he hadn't gone this way. But then I heard a strange noise. It was some sort of odd tearing sound, and someone growling as if in pain, followed by heavy breathing. I exited through the doors at the top of the stairs. There was a boys' bathroom about 10 feet down the hall to the right. I tentatively opened the door and called in. "Eric? Are you in there? Are you okay?" There was no response, but I could swear I heard quiet, uneven breathing. I walked into the men's bathroom, and upon rounding the corner of the entrance, I was met with an image that left me shrieking in terror. There, in the bathroom, was what could only be described as a monster. It was huge, muscular, and covered in fur. It had the head and muzzle of a wolf, but its body was weirdly anthropomorphic. Its eyes were bright yellow and almost seemed to glow, and its teeth were made for murder. It rushed over and placed a freakish clawed hand over my mouth. "I'm sorry to scare you. Please be quiet." Its voice was low and gravelly, and it was difficult to understand what it was saying. I whimpered against its hand, tears running down my face. Would I die here, in the boys' bathroom of a school I only worked at because I needed a job, never having accomplished anything, 30 and single? And if I did, would anyone even know how I died? How could a beast like this even get into a school with no one noticing? The monster removed its hand from my face and slowly backed away. I stood there, frozen, shaking, terrified, my mind a mess. It came back to me what I had been doing there, who I had been looking for. "Eric?" The monster nodded slowly. I didn't know what to do or how to feel. I ran out of the bathroom back to the stairwell. My legs gave out on the landing at the top. My mind was racing. How was this possible? Eric is, whatever that was, a werewolf? But werewolves aren't real. Besides, aren't they only supposed to change during a full moon or something? Or was that just in Harry Potter? But Eric would never hurt anyone. At least, the human version of him wouldn't. What if he gained a sense of bloodlust when he changed? Would we all be massacred? Should I warn everyone? But no one would believe me. Besides, he let me go. My thoughts started to slow down. He let me go. He didn't hurt me. Even in that form, he was gentle. That's right. He looks different, terrifying, but he's still Eric. I wiped my tears, got up, and shakily walked back towards the boys' bathroom. When I opened the door, I saw him sitting on the floor with his back against the wall, human again, his eyes closed, tears slowly trickling down his cheeks. His eyes flashed open when he heard the door, but upon noticing it was me, he closed them again. "You came back." I kneeled down next to him and wiped his tears away with my fingers. "I'm sorry," I said. "I got scared." He pulled me into his lap and hugged me tightly, and though not everything made sense, I began to understand him so much more. I wasn't reading into anything. I wasn't the only one who felt this way, but he wouldn't invite me over or go on dates with me because of this. He wanted to be with me, but was afraid to get close because of this. He could have told me, but I would have thought he was joking, and if he had insisted, I may have been turned off, thinking he was either insane or that he had an unhealthy obsession with role-playing. His other option would have been to show me, which, with how terrifying his beastly werewolf form was, may have also sent me running. He had been at an impasse, for how could he possibly tell the truth? He wanted to keep me close, but felt like things would never work out, so he should push me away. And that's why we only played games together remotely. It made sense now why he was still single and childless despite being so handsome, kind, and funny. I wondered if his past engagement ended for this reason, and if this secret contributed to his depression. After a long while, he pulled back, arms still around me, and looked into my eyes. He pushed a strand of my hair back out of my face. But he didn't immediately pull his hand away. Instead, he traced my lips with his thumb. I could tell he was hesitating again. I knew now, and it seemed like I accepted him, but his past had been painful, and those experiences were causing doubts. I gently pulled his hand away and kissed him. He responded. One of his hands tangled my hair, while the other held mine. I could have never imagined our first kiss would happen sitting on the floor of a boy's bathroom after finding out he could transform into a mythical beast. While it wasn't exactly a story I could tell my friends, it was still a memory I would cherish. When we parted, I asked him, "Does this mean I can finally come over and game?" I'll have to think about it," he teased. "Hey," I exclaimed indignantly. Eric laughed and kissed me again. "We should probably get back to the party. We've been gone for a while," I said. "I'd rather stay here, like this," he said, hugging me and nuzzling his face into my neck. "He's so adorable," I thought. "This is very nice," I agreed. "But I do have to wonder if there isn't a more comfortable location than the hard, possibly dirty floor of a high school boy's bathroom." Pfft, he laughed. "My gym rat legs can handle it." "Still, should we go home?" I gasped dramatically. "Are you inviting me over?" "Just this once," he smiled. "But still, we should tell everyone we're leaving." "You aren't going to, change again, are you? How does that work?" I asked. "I'm not. I'll explain everything when we get home," he replied. "Won't it be pretty weird if we leave together, though? Some people might think we were doing unsavory things while we were away." "Weren't we, though?" he smirked. "Perv. Here I thought we were having a beautiful moment, and you're out here calling it unsavory." I started getting up. "I take all my kisses back, thank you." He pulled me back into his lap and kissed me gently. "It was beautiful," he said. I smiled, getting caught up in his embrace once more, before coming back down to earth. "So, how good are you at faking sick?" I asked. "We could say you drank too much and I have to drive you home." "Who cares if we leave together? I don't think they'll fire us for it." "They might not fire us for an unconfirmed workplace romance, but we've been gone for a good 20+ minutes, and if they think we actually did do something unsavory on school premises, then they might reconsider whether or not we deserve our jobs. Alright, fine. But wouldn't it make more sense for you to be the one who couldn't hold her liquor? You're the one who they witnessed run off, so you're the one who got sick. Fine, but let's not say it was because of the alcohol. I've been feeling bad since lunch, got it? I laughed. Fine. Let's go home. I wish I could say that no one noticed our absence, but Eric stood out way too much for people not to notice. It seems that I, too, had stood out that night due to how good I looked in my dress. Luckily, people bought the excuse that Eric was sick. I was both surprised and impressed by how good he was at pretending. Furthermore, it wasn't exactly a secret that we were friends, so it wasn't all that weird for me to leave with him to make sure he was okay. I found out later that a number of the teachers shipped us together anyway, which might be why our departure together went so smoothly. I was later told by Amy that after we left, people were gossiping about how it was finally happening. After we got settled in at Eric's house, I was able to ask him all of my questions about his transformation. He told me that he had been born that way, and he had no explanation for it other than that it ran in his family. Normally, he was in complete control of his transformation, which was why he could, for the most part, live a normal life. However, he didn't feel that it would be right of him to be with someone without them knowing, especially because, while he typically had control, there could be times, like today, that he would transform when he didn't mean to. He said it usually happened when he was feeling great turmoil. I've been lying to myself since we started spending time together, he said. Our chemistry was palpable and it was hard for me to keep my eyes off of you, but I didn't want to feel that way. After I showed my ex, she acted like she was okay with it, but then she walked away at the altar. Honestly, I'm still terrified that could happen with you, too. All of that led me to constantly deny my feelings toward you. I tried to push you away, but at the same time, I couldn't leave you alone, which is why I would only ever agree to hang out with you virtually. My internal feelings, thoughts, and emotions were contradicting one another, and were in great conflict. That all came to a head when we were dancing, and I wanted to kiss you, and I lost control. So what you're saying is, you transform because I'm too irresistible? I teased. What is it that I like about you again? I'm pretty, charming, I know your secret, and I still kissed your hairy face. It wasn't hairy when we were kissing, he interrupted. But if you want... I think if we tried to kiss while you're in that form, my face would get mauled, so I'm gonna have to pass. You don't want to kiss a hairy monster face with razor-sharp teeth? I don't want to make out with it, no, but I will kiss it on the cheek, I replied. Would you, though? It's still you, and you still need love. Just with safety precautions. He squeezed me. Oh, I remember why I like you now. You're actually very sweet. So that's it. That's the end. That's the story. I hope that it wasn't too cringe. I hope it was cute and enjoyable and nice to fall asleep to. There may be some errant noises. I hope they didn't bug you. My dog is in his REM sleep right now. I was like, I have to finish the story quickly because he was starting to move his legs, and I thought he might start barking because sometimes he barks in his sleep, which is really cute, but probably not exactly what I'm wanting for ASMR. But luckily the story was kind of winding down as my dog was going deeper into sleep, so maybe he was enjoying it too. But yeah, there it is. I don't really have anything more to say other than just, again, please be kind. It's really hard to share things like this that you've written. And yeah, I hope that you all have a good night and sleep well. So, good night. Oh, and also, since this story doesn't have a title, because I really couldn't think of one, I was thinking of the working title of like My Coworker's Secret, but I don't know, it's kind of cringe, right? If anybody has like a good idea for the title of this story, please leave that in the comments section. And if I like it, maybe I'll even like retitle the entire video to have the title of the story, because right now the video title, I don't know what I'm going to make it, but it's probably going to be something like reading you a short story that I wrote. And I didn't want to like, I don't want like the word werewolf in the title because it's going to be like too obvious then, like the plot twist, right? Like the reason that he's been like standoffish is because he's a werewolf. So yeah, I like didn't want that in the title, because I was thinking like, I read a lot of webtoons like I said, and I was thinking like a webtoonish kind of title would be like My Boyfriend is a Werewolf or something. Although they kind of don't start dating till like the end, so it's not really her boyfriend, but I don't know. So yeah, if you come up with a good title, please do leave that in the comments for me.